but we're also going to get into talking 2021 recruiting. A young man that I think that, Michigan is in good shape for, surprisingly. Surprisingly because you just don't hear a lot of Michigan talk with him. I mean, you hear, I've heard Villanova. I've heard UVA. UVA is another school. Duke has been trending lately with a young man named Trevor Keels. Trevor Keels might be the best shooter in the 2021 class. He is a deft shooter. Just a stroke that a few in that class can match. So much so that, people kind of regard him as a shooter, and that shortchanges his game because Trevor Keels is a super versatile guy. He could play on or off the ball. He is a standout defender, a standout perimeter defender. So he is a dynamic two-way player, and the rankings are kind of catching up to that. Now, our guys over at 24/7, have him currently rated, and this is kind of a moving target when you talk about the rankings. But our guys have him rated the number 17 prospect in the country. Surprisingly, that's a 4-star. That's a 4-star prospect, but the number 17 prospect in the country, number 3 shooting guard. The composite ranking has him even higher. The number 16 prospect nationally, the number 2 shooting guard. He's 6'5". He's 210 pounds. A guy that Michigan has a few ends with, Josh, that people can appreciate. First and foremost, Phil Hubbard is one of the all-time greats at the University of Michigan. He's a guy that's been, a pro assistant. He's coached overseas in Korea and some other places. Phil Hubbard was, his assistant basketball coach on Trevor Keels' high school team. So you talk about having a plug inside the program, someone that you can tap into to maybe get some insight, some inside dish on how to recruit a guy, what the keys are to recruiting a guy. But another major factor is in the summer, Trevor Keels is an AAU teammate, a team takeover teammate of Terrence Williams and Hunter Dickinson. So now you have a couple of plugs on your roster that help your appeal for one of the top prospects in the country. And he's been very receptive to Michigan. I mean, the conversation, the connection, the Zoom meetings, it really looks like Michigan is going to be in line to get a visit when things open back up, Josh.
Yeah, I think, having all those connections is huge, especially when you're going up against a program like Duke, who's really prioritizing him. And like you mentioned, he is obviously a really, really good shooter, but Duke is also kind of hammering that point home that, hey, you're not just a shooter for us. You're going to do a whole bunch of things. You're going to be very versatile. Obviously, we value your shooting ability, but that's just not what we're going to place you in. And that's kind of, been Duke's selling point. And like you mentioned, Virginia is also a factor in there too. They're mentioned a lot, but yeah, a program that offers the type of connections that Michigan offers is always going to be a good thing. And you need all the help you get when you can go up against programs like Duke and Virginia in terms of recruitment. So, having those, positive presences is huge. It's just, it's easy to say, in terms of interest, where things are heading right now. It's so hard to say because all of these kids that we're talking about are really just taking things so slow, which is probably a good thing in the long haul, because visits are just, the whole plan around that is just so murky right now. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see guys who have been receptive to Michigan, where that happens after everything kind of opens up in terms of visits and things.